After having a nightmare of her father looking at her with disappointment, Sagiri regains consciousness and is met by Genji, who informs her that the group located to a cave after she had passed out from the poison released by the human-faced butterflies. Sagiri then gets back on her feet to resume her duties of looking after Gabimaru and goes outside to see him preparing the group's meals, Senta mending her torn clothes, and Yoazoariha supervising on a hammock. Sagiri questions Gabimaru as to why he would take the time to do this since he was pressed for time and hears from him that he had reservations. With Sagiri awake, Senta believes that it would be a good time to discuss what they know about the island while eating the food Gabimaru made for them. Yoazoariha becomes on board with this but becomes disappointed to see that Gabimaru served them kikatsaigan using the ingredients he found on the island, as she had hoped for a proper meal. While gathering ingredients, Gabimaru informs the group that he took the time to scout out the island and found nothing resembling the depiction of the elixir of life, though he could not say much since he has not scouted the whole island. Yoazoariha asks Gabimaru if he knew something about the elixir of life that he is not telling them. Not wanting to talk about the Iwagakora chief's immortality, Gabimaru lies, saying that he does not anything else concerning the elixir of life, much to Yoazoariha's doubts. During his time gathering ingredients, Gabimaru informs them of the familiar and unfamiliar species of plants he found on the island and the samurai that were in bloom, which had explained the mysterious disappearance. Hearing this, Yoazoariha throws a piece of kikatsaigan at Gabimaru in disgust after thinking that he had used the bloomed samurai as ingredients, only for Gabimaru to correct her in that he avoided using them. Senta believes that they should disregard the drawn depiction of the elixir of life that was given to them, along with the religion associated with the island, and focus more on the statues themselves to figure out who possessed the technology to create them and if they live on the island. Sagiri gives her opinion on that it would be hard to believe that people could live on the island due to the dangerous monsters and insects. She also explains that she did not detect any signs of organs or reproductive organs within the monsters after cutting them down and takes note of their strange chimera-like appearance. Senta adds to this by saying that the religious items they wear is poorly made and thought out, making look like malformed deities. Despite hearing how mysterious and strange the island is, Gabimaru becomes pleased that these findings on the monsters give clues to the existence of the elixir of life that will lead him to being pardoned, while Yoazoariha jokes thinking that they are already dead, and the island is the afterlife. Senta agrees with Gabimaru on that they should continue studying the monsters to get a lead on the elixir. As it becomes dusk, Sagiri is approached by Genji, who tells her to return back to Edo while he handles her monitoring of Gabimaru, believing that she is better off acting on her role as the heiress to the Yamada clan and is not capable of handling herself on the mission, as evident by her substitute sword. Senta questions if escape is possible due to the past samurai not returning home and doubts if using a boat would make it easy to leave the island. Meanwhile, Yamada Asaemon Tenza tries leaving the island on a boat with his assigned criminal Nurugai. Despite the fog, Tenza persists as he voices his belief that a warrior continues to move forward. Nurugai comments on how idiotic Tenza was being as a samurai since he would just exhaust himself if he doesn't read the currents. Although Nurugai continues to look down on samurai, Tenza takes this as him giving out wisdom as a member of the Sonka, which Nurugai states was a lesson taught to him by his grandfather. Despite Nurugai pointing out that he would still be executed even if he left the dangerous island, Tenza assures him that he will try to sort things out with the shogun and have him return home since he sees him as being innocent among the criminals sent on the expedition. Tenza then sees a large ship up ahead, thinking that it is the shogunate ship that can take them back home. However, the two realize that it is a wrecked ship among the many others that attempted to leave the island in the past. Tenza then draws his sword after seeing two shadowy figures close by, but is told by Nurugai to put it away since shining objects and hostility draws attention to animals, which ends up causing a large tentacle to attack them and their boat. As Tenza fights off the tentacles to find them another boat to use, Nurugai remembers back to how he led his people, including his grandfather, to their deaths after accidentally guiding samurai who were tasked to murder his tribe. He also recalls the time he met Tenza in prison, who offered him the Shinsenkyo expedition since he believes that he has been wrongly punished. Despite the offer, Nurugai becomes confused on whether he should live to continue on the Sonka bloodline or die to atone for the death of the villagers. Tenza then finds Kishou with flowers sprouting from his body and the Asaemon in a trance. After a tentacle tears apart Kishou, Tenza and Nurugai find themselves surrounded by other tentacles. Terrified by Kishou's corpse reminding him of his grandfather, Nurugai gives up on trying to live and tells Tenza to leave him behind, having been convinced that what he is experiencing is divine punishment for leading his grandfather and his villagers to their deaths. As he continues fighting off the tentacles, Tenza tells Nurugai that he doesn't understand his reason for wanting to die and asks him if he truly wishes to die regardless of his past actions. After these words has him recall the time he spent with his grandfather, Nurugai sheds tears answering that he wants to survive and make it back home. Hearing this, Tenza gives him one of his swords so that he can fight to survive. Seeing a usable boat nearby, Tenza and Nurugai work together to fight off the tentacles and make it through. After managing to make it back to the island, Tenza and Nurugai assess the situation and realize that their only chance of escaping is to find a safe current that leads them outside the island. While washing the blood off them, Nurugai hears Tenza taking note of how feminine his naked body is for a boy and clarifies that she is in fact a girl, much to his shock to realize. She then becomes confused as to why he is flustered looking at her indecent state of dress and requests to face the other face, but changes to becoming charmed by his chivalry, which leads to her wanting to marry him when they make it off the island. Moving on, Tenza comes up with the plan to circle the island to find the ideal current out and believes that they need to also gather allies for the return ship. After Genji walks away telling Sagiri to depart after dawn, Centaur tells her that although he agrees with Genji on that she should leave for whatever reason, he also wants her to stay for Gabimaru's sake after noticing a change that has led him to saving her earlier, which could either correlate to the conditions of the mission or to something else. Sagiri then thinks back to the times Gabimaru replenished his sword to her and how he demanded that she stay back as he fights back against the monsters. During the night, Gabimaru is met by Sagiri as he keeps watch for the night. Gabimaru asks her if she was feeling well since the insect poison she was infected with acted quickly because of the wound he gave her in their previous fight, and tells her that he is grateful for helping him steal his to face the obstacles in his way. While Sagiri perceives him as being strong after hearing this, Gabimaru tells her that she is stronger than him in a way that he can't understand. Noticing her looking shocked by this, Gabimaru imparts words of wisdom from his village onto her that boosts her confidence. The next day, Sagiri meets up with Genji to tell him that she will not be leaving the island or take his advice to act on her role as a daughter of the Yamada clan, explaining to him that she has chosen for herself to walk the path of a samurai in light of others looking down on her, including her father, and demanded that he accept this. Genji states his refusal and draws his sword on Sagiri in retaliation. However, Sagiri snatches his sword from his hands after he brings it down, while also reminding him of the lesson he taught her yesterday about procuring weapons on the battlefield. While Genji becomes infuriated with her for stealing his sword away from him, Sagiri looks in shock to see Rokurōta standing behind him and tries to warn Genji. After turning around to notice the giant, Genji pushes Sagiri out of the way as Rokurōta comes in to attack with a swipe of his hand, resulting in Genji receiving a fatal wound to his body that leaves Sagiri in shock.